Hey, I'm Kati Spaas, and I'm a world-renowned author and speaker on high sensitivity and a retired coach to professional artists and performers. Spotlight Stress is your guide to build confidence, find your superpower, and claim your shine. Our lovely guest today is Daniella Monet. She is an actress. You might have seen her on Victorious or various Nickelodeon shows or movies. And she's also an ethical mompreneur. I mean, I said I would try to say it. I tried. But now, Danielle, I'm going to let you explain what that specifically means. So please.
Sure. No problem. Thanks for having me. So I like to call myself an ethical mom entrepreneur because originally, before becoming a mom myself, I was an investor and a co-founder of ethical businesses. I've been a longtime vegan activist for over 20 years. And as I got a little older and had kids, I realized that the reason why I wanted these companies to do well and why I put so much effort into these ethical businesses is really because I am a mom and I care about their future. So I call myself an ethical mom entrepreneur now.
I love that, and I'm so happy that you explained what that means. Okay, and do you know what? I'm also a vegetarian. I'm not vegan, but I'm vegetarian for 25 years now. So that's really fun that we were both so long ago when it wasn't popular yet. And I don't know about you, but I remember there being like two kinds of vegetarian burgers, one with spinach and one with vegetables. And so we ate that stuff every single day.
That is the truth.
That is the truth. Hey, so you just told me that you have, just like me too, like beautiful young babies. How is life as an entrepreneur and mom? How's that working out for you? Is that pressure even possible to, you know, find some inner peace and to be able to juggle all those balls at the same time? What's your secret?
Oh gosh, I don't have a secret. I'm basically trying to figure it out day to day. Some days are easier than others. I have, my partner is also stay at home, so we're lucky to have each other, and we just sort of shuffle around and make it work. Ultimately, everything we do is for them, and so anytime I have to step away, even though it's hard, to be away and not be involved every second, I know that I have no choice. It's for the better of our lives and for providing for them, and so it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also nice. I mean, I work from my own home as well. I do have someone for my kids because otherwise I'll be very honest, I will go crazy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, for me working is a lot lighter and less stress than spending, and I know you can't say that as a mom, but it's my truth. Spending
Mm-hmm.
full-time days with my kids, I would go bananas. I'm so
I
happy
hear
that
you.
that I can work and have this little space for myself to do my thing. So I think that the balance is key. Like having moments for yourself in your work, but also privately, and then that family quality time that is so much more precious and valuable when you're like recharged. And what are your go-tos to feel good about yourself and recharge your energy?
So, fortunately, I founded a company called Kinder Beauty Box. So, I am constantly loaded with amazing vegan, clean, cruelty free beauty products. And when I feel like, I mean, even just through functionally, being a mom and breastfeeding, I feel like I'm always dehydrated. I'm always having to like hydrate my body, my skin, and just honestly, that's what makes me feel alive sometimes. If I feel like tired, I need to just take a few minutes, hop into the bathroom, like use some beautiful products that just sort of smell good, feel good, look good. And that helps me sort of feel my best.
Yeah.
And that amongst just eating and drinking when I can is good too.
Yeah, it's that little intimate moment for yourself, taking good care of yourself. And it can be something different for everyone. But I do think that, having that little bit of me time, even if it's just putting something on your skin and making sure, because when you look in the mirror and you feel like, okay, I look decent, I look good, it does, it's changed. It changes you, the way you feel. After giving birth now, my daughter is 1 month old, and you have those days when I'm not working, and then, you have your hair up, your sweatsuit on, and you feel disgusting laying in the sofa all day. And then there's these days that I have to get, a little bit dressed up and clean to get on the camera or to speak with people. And then you just feel like a different person when you can take a little bit of care for yourself. So it's really great that not only you do that, but also you're providing for others to do that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's mandatory and not enough of us prioritize it. It's very easy to put ourselves last. And, specifically being a mom, I didn't realize I didn't know that there was something behind last in line until becoming a mom. So, I'm constantly keeping myself in check, and it does help to be in a business now where I'm supporting others make kinder choices for themselves. And it reminds myself every day that I'm just as important.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What I often see in with my clients, for example, is that I work with highly sensitive artists, and we have this deeper way of processing information in our brain, which is why, as an actress, why you're also great at really feeling the emotions of the person that you're playing. And that's why when we look at you on the screen, that's like, wow, I really believe it. I can feel it because you embody that character that you're playing. But there's also this side where we take the social context in account. And that is part of the highly sensitive brain, that whenever we have to process input or take a decision, we are always considering social context. We're always looking for the optimal option. And that means that we're always checking the boxes for everyone else first. And then we tend to forget ourselves in that journey. And that's a little bit harder for us because our brain is literally programmed that way, and other people don't always experience that the same way. So we're extra sensitive in a way that we have to take good care of that. For us, it's a little bit more of an effort, making an effort to putting yourself first. So besides, taking good care of your skin and making sure that you look and feel great, what are things that you do to recharge your batteries?
Oh, that's a great question. So like I said before, I've been vegan for over 20 years. So food for me, and I'm Italian, so food for me is something that is vital. I love to cook, and I love to feed other people. I love feeding my children. So I recharge usually when I'm in the kitchen and I have time to just be creative and feed our family. That brings me a lot of joy and helps me feel, recharged for sure.
Yeah, beautiful. And you've also done lots of things in the acting industry. How do you combine that, being a mom and an entrepreneur?
Acting has been something I've done since I was a kid. So it's always been very, I guess, natural for me. I also grew up in Los Angeles. So it was also somewhat of like a hobby. It wasn't anything I put a ton of focus on until I was maybe a bit older, and I realized that this was a career choice for me. And at that point, it became much more of a priority, and I had to ride the waves. Acting has never been that stable. There's a lot of highs and lows, and I have struggled at times, but ultimately I'm lucky that I have a really good foundation. I have a really supportive family, and because it's just something I do, it's not who I am. It's made it a lot easier for it to be fun still. I think, like I said, now that I am a mom and I have other endeavors and other things that I care a lot about and I put a lot of energy into, it becomes somewhat of like a subsidy, and I'm able to look at it as like hopefully something that I just enjoy, and I don't have to rely on as steadily as I did in the past, just because it's not the most steady job, and you have to put yourself out there quite a bit, and there's a lot of rejection involved. And I'm not the one always creating this content myself, which is tricky, because now that I have a family, I care about what roles I play a lot more, and I always did. I've always done family content. That's why I've loved working on Nickelodeon. But it does limit your options a little bit more, when you care a lot about who you're portraying and what jobs you're working with, the caliber of individuals that you surround yourself with. It's interesting, coming into your 30s, you look at things a lot differently.
Definitely. And to be honest, I know that for a lot of actors specifically, but also singers and songwriters, that they get insecure when they feel like, I really want to go my own direction and stay true to myself. But to be honest, I see that as an absolute strength, because the more you stand for who you are and you shine your light on that, the more people can see you, can really see you. And that's when you can share that light easier with the world. And I just see that as an absolute gift. So I've heard that the rejection, I've heard with a lot of clients and also a lot of people that I've interviewed, that is a big deal in this industry. And how do you cope with that? What's your go-to place to deal with the rejection?
I wasn't always very good at it. When I was younger, it was a lot harder, and I didn't know how to cope with it. And that showed up in various ways. My mental health wasn't great. I struggled in school, but I was young, and I was being spread probably a little too thin. I cared about what I was doing, and I wanted to win. So anytime that, a door closed on me, it hurt, and I took it personal. And I think what's changed is I work really hard not to take it personal, but I have so many other things that fulfill me that I instantly can recalibrate, and I go, okay, well, this obviously wasn't meant to be. And thank goodness I have this that I need to focus on now, or this is calling my attention. This is way more important. And that's been really helpful. You just have to come into your own. And I think the older we get, the more we understand ourselves, and we can work through that process of thinking a little better, and not get so emotional right off the bat. A lot of these jobs, they come and they go, and we're not cut out for everything. That's just the honest truth, right? So you got to find your niche, and you got to know where you feel most comfortable and where you feel you're most accepted. And so once I figured that out, I realized, okay, it's not always going to be a yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the way that you're saying this, because what I'm hearing is, it's just putting it into perspective. And you just see it now as, okay, you know what, this is not a yes now. So it's probably not for me the best thing to do right now. So that means that there's other things for me to focus on at this moment in time. And that's just beautiful, because I truly believe that that's the way things work. Before I always thought that things were working against me. But since I saw that we're all energy, and that, you attract the frequency that you're sending out, and how that works, I can really see how the universe is working for us, not against us. So, if that is your belief, then it's so easy to put that in perspective, because then it's like, okay, you know what? Definitely not for me then, even though maybe I would have loved doing that. But that means that, I can step my game up, or there's something else I can go for, or, it's just redirecting, like you say, and just seeing what's next for me now. And that's just the beauty of it, just shifting that and not staying stuck in those thoughts, because it's so easy to lose ourselves in those thoughts of, oh, I'm not good enough and someone else is better and why not me? And it's hard. Rejection is hard. Nobody teaches us that in school. That should be like the number one lesson: self-confidence and dealing with rejection, because I think that's what's necessary for success, dealing with rejection.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, where can I learn here? Or, how do I turn this into a positive? And I think for me, I just realized that I can't control those decisions. And what can I control? So let's find other outlets where I have a little bit more control. And ultimately, there are, in pretty much any industry, any business you're in, there are so many factors that you don't really have a ton of control over. What's worked for me is having enough like variety, like enough of, I guess, I call them streams, but like for me, it's like, well, let me put effort here, put effort here, put effort here, put effort here. And then whatever seems to feed me the most, whether that be just emotionally, give me enough purpose, even monetarily, whatever seems to be like the most beneficial and worth my time, like I'll give that more energy. But until I feel fulfilled in that way, I'm kind of always seeking different endeavors. And I think that just happened throughout my life of being an actress. Like you go on a lot of auditions and you put a lot of energy into each one and you give it a ton of you. And you just hope that it's gonna work. And ultimately, again, you don't have a lot of control over that. You just have that control over yourself to give it your best. And so that's what I'm doing now, but just in a bunch of different categories. Mom being number one.
Mom being number one. And if I can give you like some free nugget in here, what I would share, if you were my client, what I would share right now is that the fulfillment, we're not reliant on the result to be fulfilled. For me, it's about creating that fulfillment right now in what we're doing, and then releasing the attachment to the results. Because then you're truly from your inner core, from your essence, you're doing what gives you most joy. And when you're on that frequency, you'll attract more of that. So then the results will follow really quickly. It's like when you want to manifest something in life, you have to, level with that vibration first in order to be able to manifest the thing you want. Because like, for example, in our previous house, we had this, I'm an absolute animal lover. We have like 2 dogs, a cat, horses, whatever you want. But the neighbors had a dog, and it was this little dog, and I was like, my brain can't handle that. And so it was barking all freaking day long, putting his head like in the fence, and it was just barking at us all day. I was going crazy. So I realized at one point, I'm not staying here. I want peace and quiet. But then I noticed, if I'm looking for something else from that frequency, I'm going to attract the exact same thing. And that's not what I want. So I need to up-level my frequency right here and right now. Even if it doesn't feel like peace and quiet, I have to start generating it inside me first. And then I started working on that. It's just a little stupid example, but for me, it's really worked because I started working on that. And from there, from already having that like fulfillment, like you say, already having that peace and quiet with me, which we found the like most amazing house. It's like super, we only have neighbors on one side. It's super quiet. We have canals on both sides with the fields, with the horses. And it's exactly like when you go on holiday, that vibe. We have that at home, but that's because I started aligning with that frequency before, when I was absolutely not feeling it. So that's what I would want to say to you in that case, like, step into that fulfillment and the rest will just follow. I would just switch that around even. How do you think that would feel for you if you could just adjust that a little bit for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Because sometimes I need to scale back a little bit and lean into what really is, it comes natural to me, or what feels natural to me and what feels best like in my body. I've actually been doing a lot more of that work recently, and we're on the cusp of a move ourselves. And it's funny, I keep using that as an example in the same sort of context where I'm like, well, when we move, I'll feel. When I move, we'll all be.
I know.
But it's like harnessing that now. It's really, it's an intentional feeling that you have to just sort of be ready to accept, whether the environment's what it needs to be or not.
Exactly. and then you will attract more of that.
Yeah,
Because that's,
makes sense.
I always try to see it as, everything is energy. So are we, so is everything around us. So we attract the frequency that we're sending out. So I always like to see it super simple, like I'm some sort of magnet. And I can just choose, like when you put a station on the radio, I can just choose which frequency I want to put on or out there. And then I know that I'll receive the music that I want to hear, for example, in that case. So yeah, I'm so happy that you share that, because that's exactly the example that I was experiencing as well. And if you can just bring that to the party right now, I am convinced 100% that when you're moving, it's already going to be there. So,
yeah, no, that makes great sense. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, exciting times coming ahead. I can hear that. Tell me, Daniella, what is next for you? What's in store? What's the big vision? What's your bliss, your sparkle?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot that I feel grateful that I'm kind of in the midst of developing right now. I mean, I mentioned Kinder Beauty earlier. That was a company that we founded almost 3 years ago now. And it was really founded on our mission. And like I said, I'm an animal lover myself. So creating options in the beauty space that were accessible to the world, we ship worldwide at a reasonable price, was like a dream. And when it became a reality, and now we're 3 years in, and our community has grown, and we just launched a podcast today called A Little Kinder, where we talk to inspirational people and what kindness means to them. And we challenge our listeners to do random acts of kinder. And so that to me is like, really, that's feeling good in my body. But outside of that, right now, I think the real bliss is our family life, on a personal level. I want to scale back. I want to find things that really feel fulfilling, so that I can really cultivate that energy that you're talking about, that really peaceful, centered, balanced, purposeful energy. And I feel like I'm narrowing in on it. This time in life is funky because there's so much hustle and bustle with 2 little kids, and providing for them, and then finding time for yourself, and then finding time for your relationship.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to navigate
what relationship are you talking about?
I know. I mean, we're not even married yet. We've been together 10 years. I say my husband, I say my fiance, I say my partner, I say it all. So if you hear it, it's the same person. But we have a podcast together called Adulting Like a Mother Father. And we go into it all. I mean, we are very honest, and usually, like, I'm sure you can understand, sometimes that's the only time where we're sitting together face to face having like an uninterrupted question, or uninterrupted conversation. Oftentimes that has to happen during a nap window, and it's like you're using your nap window where you could easily just be like sprawled out on the bed or doing the dishes and putting the laundry away, and forcing yourself to have a conversation, because sometimes having your relationship it's tricky to make time for it. So that's life, man.
I hear you, sister. I hear you. We were my husband. So my husband has been training like almost a year to run a marathon, and he wanted to do it in like a really sharp time. So he started doing that while I was pregnant and having already 1 kid here. And then I had a rough pregnancy, so it was not fun. And then he was normally doing the 10th of October, his marathon. And that night at 1:00 in the morning, my water broke. So I went to the emergency room crying, calling mom, no, she can't be coming now. He's worked so hard. And I left my husband at home in the bed, because I thought, I can't do this.
He'll still run.
No, he'll still run, and he can sleep. He can have a good night's sleep. So then, of course, that did not happen. So then after delivering the baby 1 week after, 10 days after, we're like, okay, you know what? You've worked so hard. Let's just, keep on going and do it next month. So last weekend, he ran it. He got sick. We had no sleep at all this last month. So he got sick. He was throwing up while running it. Still did an amazing time on his first marathon ever, but then not his time that he wanted. And yesterday we went in his parents' jacuzzi, And I thought, yeah, this is it. We just, instead of watching TV or doing this, or like you say, doing the dishes, just sitting there and talking to each other. Our little boy went along with us. He just became 2 years old. We had so much fun, even if it was just for 30 minutes. That was pure bliss. So it doesn't have to be like entire days, but it's those quality moments, right? That you can really connect with each other. That is so cool, Daniella, that you are having a podcast and sharing all those things, because I think, we can be a little bit more open probably in the world about these topics. And it's a fucking struggle being a young parent. I'm not young, but I'm a young parent because children are young. So yeah, it's a fucking struggle. No sleep destroys you.
No sleep, just like, the simplest things, the feedings and the struggles that come along with all of it. It's draining. And, I commend you for doing what you're doing, because a month in, like, there's a period of time after you have a baby where you're almost on cloud nine. Like, it's a false reality almost, because you're like, oh, my pregnancy's done. The baby's finally here. Like, everyone's embracing me and they're coming to support me, and there's food and it's good and it's great.
1 week,
and
right?
then
1 week.
yeah then it starts to really hit you that, okay, wait, I'm on my own and these two rely on me, so like us, but mostly the mom, and then you have all these other obligations outside of that. And honestly, as simple as going to the bathroom sometimes takes, like,
oh my god, taking a shower, what is washing your hair, oh my god, I mean,
I know,
leaving the product in, what?
Yep. That's why I think, like, you're right. Not enough people talk about it. And sometimes when we get on our show and we talk about like what's really going on, I'll get off and go, ooh, that felt so good. And then I'll like think about it and I'm like, wow, were we too honest? But then what's really great about it is that we'll get response from people. And even if it only like really reaches, a handful of families or whatever it may be that like really felt heard or seen or whatever, that to me is enough. I'm like, listen, I just want everyone to know they ain't alone. Like, everyone on Instagram who tries to make this look so friggin' pretty and perfect, I'm sorry. Like, I have moments where I go, whoa, this is amazing. Like, I get it. And then there's moments where I'm like, how am I going to get through the day?
100% can relate to that. And I think it's amazing. And I think that those times when you think, were we too honest, are probably the most valuable times for people who feel, like they're alone in the world. And that's exactly the reason why I do this and why I want to speak openly about, for example, highly sensitivity, because I felt like an alien on earth for a very long time. And it's only when I started giving lectures on the topic and speaking about it, that I really saw so many people in the audience going like, and you saw those eyes, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. There's nothing wrong with me. And that alone is just so fulfilling, that you can just be that for those people. That is actually already enough. I think it's really great. You know what we'll do? Let's share the link to your podcast and to your vegan products, because I want to order. Yeah, for sure. I don't like animal cruelty.
It's like $23 a month. And what's great about it is, like, I was just a consumer before. I was vegan, right? And I've been vegan for a long time, but I didn't know where to find products that I could like really trust and that weren't going to cost me a fortune. And so what we've been able to do is give these brands, a platform, and then also some reach through myself and my partner. My partner is Ivana Lynch from the Harry Potter movie series. So she's got a significant following. And then these brands, it's a win-win, right? So they give us a great deal on products. We're able to share that with our consumer. And then people can literally get a box full of products that could be upwards of $165 in value, but only $23 a month. And then, like, even if a mom, while I was pregnant and breastfeeding, I don't want to put shit on my face, and I don't want this stuff going into my body.
No.
And so, so the fact that it's clean, and then of course we don't use any products that test on animals, and everything's vegan, and we give back. We have a donation element as well. And it's been a really cool, I mean, believe me when I say this COVID time has been wild, because people didn't have access to a lot of things. They weren't going to the stores. They weren't able to get like, so we built quite a community, and I'm so grateful, like so grateful.
Yeah, but you know what? You often hear like, oh, this hasn't been tested on animals, and I prefer to buy that, but that doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
cruelty free.
And it doesn't mean that it's clean.
No,
like
exactly.
That's a whole nother element.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like consumers are so duped. I can go on and on about this, but like the propaganda out there, everyone's trying to just label things like cruelty free, or, you know, now it's like, okay, it's vegan, but like, what does that really mean? And then, you know, that doesn't mean that there's no toxins. And then of course you have to go into even more detail, like, well, what does clean mean? And what are your clean standards? Because every company has different clean standards. It's a wild west out there.
Yeah, but it is. So let's share this. Let's share it with more people, because I think that's really valuable what you do, and I want to contribute to that. So
thank you.
Daniella, thank you so much for being here. I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation so much. So let's talk soon, okay?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.